Hi. Not sustainable, not affordable. We're going to talk about our future unwanted children. I decided to sit here in the little bit of a cast of the sun going down because that's how I feel. I really feel that this subject is about the sun going down badly. On January 22nd, 1973, Roe v. Wade was voted in for the United States. It meant that women had the right to an abortion. It was really important to me because I'd already been through it. I knew what it was like. In 1962, in January, actually into January, 1st of February, right in there, I was raped and impregnated. I was 15 the week before. I was raised in kind of a secluded, on base all the time, a military base environment. Never had access to a library. Even though my mother was an RN, she never talked to me about pregnancy. I had no idea. I was so ignorant. I was so very ignorant. All I wanted to do was get away from my parents, and I ended up in a position where it was so bad. Pregnant, 15, barely 15, naive. It was June 24th, 2022, when Roe v. Wade was again thrown out. Before, not again thrown out, but again not legal. I checked it out. There's about 3,300,000 unwanted pregnancies that are going to occur between June 24th, 2022 and today. 3,300,000. Now, my degree is in special education. I work with kids, disabled kids, Spanish-speaking kids that are disabled or gifted. Now, most schools don't have gifted anymore, so you're working with the disabled kids. And it's hard. It's really hard. But raising a normal kid is hard, really hard. And what I've researched so much is if a child's not wanted, they're going to end up with mental or emotional or physical illness. If they're not nurtured, if they're not loved, if they're not sustainable, is when mom loves the baby and the baby becomes a mom who loves the baby and the baby becomes a mom. You got the picture. Affordability is when you know you can afford to have another child. You know that you're not scraping and scraping and trying to figure out how to pay the rent and how to pay the food bill and still be able to get to work. But a lot of women find themselves pregnant without the money that they need to raise the kids they've got, or their brothers or sisters, or their great aunt, or their grandmother, or whoever they're taking care of. And there they are again, with another one. Unwanted children is what our future is bringing us. About 1% of all the kids that have been born since Roe v. Wade was expired are going to be unwanted, because that's how many abortions have been at the average. That's what I was checking on. 1% aren't wanted. That's of all the people that are living in the whole United States. Every year. Have you heard of exponential numbers? And when you have a child that's not wanted, that is an unsustainable, unaffordable situation that continues because the next family is probably facing the same thing. I keep thinking about how I felt in 1962. I was in a nunnery. That was the great news. Oh, that was awesome. I got to tell you, that was terrific. I was in a nunnery with other women, girls, early girls. The youngest one was 12. I was the next youngest. But most of the girls were 16 to 19. The nuns were just awesome. They were the mother I never had. They taught me things. They taught me cooking. They taught me how to take care of babies. They taught me how to take care of baby clothes. They were kind. They were patient. They believed me. Even Sister Superior and the priest drilled me and drilled me and drilled me because my parents said, she wasn't raped. She must have said yes. I didn't say yes. I didn't know what it'd be saying yes to. I didn't know what brought babies into the world. I didn't understand anything. There was no internet then. There was no way for me to know. We were military. We were always moving around. I didn't have any close friends. I never had anybody I could talk to about something like that. Are you kidding me? I was so naive. So incredibly naive and pregnant. And the day he was born, my mother walked in and said, if he'd been a girl, we'd given him away, but we're taking him from you because you're not legally old enough in this state to be a parent. That was that. Lost my son. Carrying a child is an incredible experience at any age. But to have your kid just whisked away, they wouldn't let me hold him. They had to take me back home because I had no place to go. And I was an only child, and they didn't have any relatives. Dad had been disowned by his family because he was Roman Catholic and he married a Lutheran. And my mother didn't have anybody. Her parents had been divorced, and she hated her stepmother, so she didn't have any place to go. I adored her stepmother, by the way. I was crazy about her. She was a wonderful woman. I really loved her. But my mother, on the other hand, was not. She was an alcoholic. She was very toxic. She wasn't anybody I really wanted to be around, as one would imagine, if she was toxic. And I certainly didn't want her raising my child. But I didn't have much choice. He did come to live with me when he was almost 6, because my mother was too old and too sick to take care of him. It spoiled him to death, and he wasn't. He was so used to being treated that way that he's not the boy he would have been with me. I know that because I raised a daughter after that and a son, and it was very different. And besides, I wanted my children. I love my kids. But no more abortion in the U.S. There will be so many children born. 1% of the population will be born unwanted. It's so hard to even, I have a business degree, so I've done the numbers, but it's so hard to imagine, just to even imagine the fact that all these children will be born unwanted. Unaffordable. We have to recognize that. We have to recognize they will be in a position of not being sustainable because moms who love their kids create moms who love their kids create. You got it. Okay. Affordability, if you can afford to have your kids, you probably will be able to afford to have your next kids and your next kids because you will have been born to a family that could afford you. And they will teach you how to afford your kids because you'll grow up in an environment of affordability and of working and learning and going to school and getting degrees and getting jobs that were going to help you be able to take care of your family. So it turns out that the nurse who came in to ask me how I was doing in labor was a teacher. And she said, "You really don't know what's going on?" I said, "No, I don't. All the girls in the nunnery that we were in were told not to talk to me because I was the youngest and I wasn't supposed to know anything, so they didn't tell me anything. I didn't know anything. I had no idea what was going on. So she went out and she got a easel, put it up right next to me, and showed me how the baby was inside of me, how the baby would leave. It was shocking. It was absolutely shocking to me because I had no idea. I just was totally naive. And there I was, in labor, naive. But that was the truth. And I was in labor for a long, long time with all three of my kids. I was in labor for between 63 and 78 hours. What happened was, as his head was coming out, they told me they were going to break his collarbone. And of course I was terrified. So they gassed me. They gassed me. And they gave me a shot so I wouldn't have milk. They wouldn't bring me the baby for the longest time. I didn't know if he was alive or dead. They wouldn't talk to me. My parents my mother led them to believe I was some kind of a weirdo. I was just a naive little girl who'd been crocheting, actually knitting clothes for her baby the whole time, learning how to cook, learning how to take care of a baby, learning how to be a mom from someone who had never had kids. None of the nuns had children, as far as I know, but they were so kind. Gosh, it was such an incredible break from living with my mother. I mostly lived with my mother because my father was military and he was gone most of the time. My mother was an alcoholic. She was a raving alcoholic. It was really a tough situation, which is why I should have not created a sustainable situation, but have a lovely daughter. 2 sons, 1 daughter. Of course, the oldest son doesn't claim me because I was the meanie. I expected him to do things and behave himself and help clean up around the house with the other 2 kids and all the things that my folks didn't ask him to do. So he left again as soon as he could, as soon as my father felt like he could handle him. And he took him back. Because I had failed, like the Catholic Church says, if you get them before they're 5, you got them for life. And it's the truth, if a child is suddenly brought away after the age of 5, they've already got so many ingrained things, it's very difficult to change their lifestyle. But the point is, at least he was wanted by my parents. They wanted 6 sons. They had me. Mother couldn't have any more live children. Her only son died at 4 days from Rh negative. So she couldn't have live children, and she refused to do adoption, so there they were. Odd situation, but that was the situation. But I raised a daughter who is so empathic. I'm so proud of her. She's never been able to get pregnant, so we assume that she had a heart attack when she was 4.5 months old and probably had other things going on because her stomach valve didn't work right. And we know her uterus is severely tipped, so maybe that's what it is. But she's never been able to be pregnant. She's not used things for several years and still couldn't get pregnant. But she's so empathic she's the head of a university and college, a career college. And she's got so much concern for every teacher, every staff member, every student. I just know that she would have made a great mom. And it's okay. I mean, I don't need to be grandma. I'm great grandma, but I don't need to be grandma. I needed her to be the kind of person she is, and I'm very proud of her. But what I'm concerned about is what is going to happen with all those kids who have not been raised in a sustainable home, have not been raised in a home that could afford them. what is going to happen with all of that? More crime? More poverty? More lack of self-esteem? More weak egos? I mean, we have an example in the White House right now of someone who was not nurtured, and that hasn't worked out so well. There's a lot of ego issues there. What are we about to face? What is it going to be like? Not just in the classroom, because of course I'm thinking about the classroom. You know, I used to have 32 disabled kids in my classroom and 1 or 2 helpers, and believe me, that wasn't enough. They have 32 kids. Women aren't made to give birth to 32 kids at the same time, so we know that. But my concern is, what's it going to be like in 15, 18 years? 15 or 18 years from June of 2022. What's it going to be like? What's going to happen to all those kids? Those kids where their moms were planning to have an abortion and they didn't get to. And God knows what they went through and how many of them died and all the other things that we're concerned about. But think about that. What is going to happen? What are those kids going to be like in the classroom? Are they going to be well behaved and respectful? Are they going to have full stomachs, decent clothes, warm shoes, warm coats, or not? It's just like the COVID kids. You know, the COVID kids are going to have a real struggle. The social development that they missed is extremely important. So right behind that, right behind those COVID kids are going to come thousands of unwanted kids. I'm glad I don't have that many more years on this planet where I don't have to see it, because it would break my heart. I would try to heal every single one of them. And there's not enough of me to do that. And I doubt that there's enough of other empathic, patient, kind women who are willing to give their time to try to heal those kids. I think our prisons are going to get bigger. Our mental health facilities are going to get bigger. And our crimes are going to get bigger. That's my prediction. I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. And if you've got any questions for me, please go down in the chat or the below description on the comments. Ask me a question. I'd love to hear from you. I'm available to listen to anybody anytime, because that's what I do. I'm a teacher, and teachers do that. And I'm an academic, and I love to study. I love to research. I studied business, and I've got a doctorate in education. So I'm happy to, if there's a question I don't have an answer to, which is very likely that's the sort of thing that goes on, I would be happy to look it up, find out an answer, and send it to you. So let me know. Just go down in the comments and let me know. And while you're down there, you can see Summerland volunteer artists. I've been a volunteer since high school. I think I said that, maybe not. Anyway, that's a big thing for me. I love volunteering. And I'm an artist, and I'm old, and I've made these jewelry pieces and wall hangings to remind us to take care of our earth. Because our earth needs our attention as much as those unwanted kids do. Wow. What a future we're facing. It's going to be tough, guys. It's going to be tough. Guys and gals, we got a lot of work to do. But together, hopefully, we can make a difference if we're prepared. And that's all I'm trying to do here today, is get you prepared. That's what's going to happen. I'm sure that's what's going to happen, because that's how humans go through life. If you don't love them, they don't love you, and they get in trouble. It's the way it is. Thanks for listening. Bye.